I bet you didn't know that Nazi Germany's last offensive was a desperate gamble that fell apart. This operation, known as Operation Spring Awakening, was Hitler's final attempt to turn the tide of the war in favor of the Axis powers. Despite the dire situation, the Nazi leadership believed that a decisive victory could still be achieved. They were willing to risk everything on this one last throw of the dice. Let's dive into the failed Operation Spring Awakening. This operation was launched in March 1945, in the final months of World War II. The plan was to push back the advancing Soviet forces and secure the vital oil fields in Hungary. These oil fields were crucial for the German war effort, as they were one of the last remaining sources of fuel for their tanks and aircraft. By January 1945, the Third Reich was on the brink of collapse. The Allies were closing in from the west, and the Soviets were advancing from the east. German cities lay in ruins, and the once mighty German army was now a shadow of its former self. Morale was low, and resources were scarce. Yet in the face of overwhelming odds, Hitler refused to surrender. Yet, Hitler ordered Operation Spring Awakening, a surprise counter-offensive in Hungary. He believed that a successful attack could buy Germany more time and possibly lead to a negotiated peace. The operation was meticulously planned, with the hope that a swift and decisive victory could be achieved. German generals were tasked with executing this high-stakes gamble, despite their own doubts about its feasibility. The target? The oil fields near Lake Balaton, the last major source of fuel for Germany's war machine. These oil fields were of strategic importance, and their capture was seen as essential for the continuation of the war effort. The German forces, including elite SS Panzer divisions, were mobilized for this critical mission. The stakes were incredibly high, and failure was not an option. The offensive began with a ferocious assault by the SS Panzer divisions, cutting through Soviet defenses. The initial stages of the operation saw some success, as the German forces managed to advance and create a temporary breach in the Soviet lines. The ferocity and determination of the German troops were evident as they fought with everything they had left. But the Red Army quickly regrouped, counterattacking with overwhelming force. The Soviets were well prepared and had superior numbers and resources. They launched a series of counterattacks that quickly halted the German advance. The fighting was intense, and the battlefield became a scene of chaos and destruction. The Soviet response was swift and brutal, leaving the German forces reeling. Exhausted German troops running low on supplies were driven back. The initial momentum of the offensive was lost, and the German forces found themselves in a desperate situation. They were outnumbered, outgunned, and running out of fuel and ammunition. The harsh winter conditions added to their misery as they struggled to hold their positions against the relentless Soviet onslaught. Operation Spring Awakening ended in disaster, marking the final gasp of Nazi aggression. The failure of the operation was a devastating blow to the German war effort. It became clear that the end was near, and there was no hope of turning the tide. The remnants of the German forces were forced to retreat, leaving behind a trail of destruction and defeat. Within months, Berlin would fall, and the war in Europe would come to an end. The collapse of the Third Reich was inevitable, and the Allied forces closed in on the German capital. The fall of Berlin marked the end of one of the darkest chapters in human history. The war in Europe was over, and the world began to grapple with the aftermath of the conflict. History holds so many hidden truths. The story of Operation Spring Awakening is just one example of the many lesser-known events that shaped the course of World War II. By examining these moments, we gain a deeper understanding of the complexities and tragedies of the past. It's a reminder that history is full of surprises and lessons waiting to be discovered. Dive into the filthy truth about ancient Rome's sewers to uncover a story you didn't know you needed to hear. Just as with Operation Spring Awakening, there are countless fascinating tales from history that remain hidden beneath the surface. Join us as we explore these intriguing stories and uncover the secrets of the past.